What's going on, people, and welcome to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time. I'm your host with the most, the one and only Mr. Midas. Now, in Too Many Games, we get to speak to incredible gamers across the globe. Now, today's episode, we got a very exciting guest, but before I introduce him, I just want to say thank you for all of the love on the channel. Yes, we started our very own Discord, so make sure you come and join the Midas Games Discord, and we've got an exclusive giveaway, exclusive prize if you come and join the Discord. And remember, if you're listening to us on your podcast services, make sure you come over to the YouTube, give us a thumbs up, drop a subscribe, and drop us a comment. But forget about all of that, because today we are going international. I love when I get to speak to an international guest, and this guest is the king of tech. I'm talking a fellow Final Fantasy VII fan. I'm talking Culture Code gang, alongside the sis, readying for me, the one and only GeekLifeMike. Welcome to Too Many Games, my G.
Yeah, what up, my boy? What's good with you?
We are good. Now, keeping it transparent, we just recorded that all again, so hopefully it felt really authentic, because we went all of that. The international airwaves tried to stop us, but they can't stop us, fam.
Not at all. The international airwaves is hating right now, but they can't slow us down.
They can't slow us down. Well, firstly, I want to say thank you for coming over to the podcast. Fam, we're getting straight into it.
Let's do it.
I want to know, how did your love start with Final Fantasy VII?
Ooh, man, that's a long story, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet. It goes back to Nintendo, actually. And I had a friend of mine that I was in school with. His name was Joe. Yo, shout out to Joe. And he was like, yo, you got to play this game called Final Fantasy. For those who don't know, Final Fantasy didn't just start on the original PlayStation. It started on the original NES.
Yeah, 1 to 6 was on Nintendo.
Right. It started there. And I played that. I fell in love. It was between that and Dragon Warrior, if you remember that game. Yeah. So I was going back and forth between those two games, and I just followed the Final Fantasy franchise ever since. And then when Final Fantasy VII came out, when I was aware of it, I saved up money, and I bought that game. And if you remember the booklet, it was like this thick. It was like 3 discs. I couldn't believe it, and I've just been a fanatic ever since. So I've played them all. I'll continue to play them all, and that's just what it is, man. So it's Final Fantasy for me. You know, we could talk about that all day.
Do you know what? That's really interesting to me. All right, so Final Fantasy VII is my first in the series. I'm a big JRPG guy, love RPGs, and a lot of people that I know who love the original 1 to 6, they never really got into 7 and 8 because of it was such a change. Obviously, they went from the pixel base to 3D. Obviously, the story's a lot different. So it's really interesting that you have that love for the OG original 1 to 6, but then 7 thingy. So what's your favorite in the series?
It's still 7 with 10 right behind it, or X, whatever you want to call it. And then I would say probably 6, Final Fantasy 6. That would be my top 3.
See, that's why you're my jigger. I love that. Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 is the most incredible Final Fantasy game ever made, and one of the most incredible games.
It was a game changer. It was a game changer. I mean, you could say, you know, and this might be a bold statement, but you could say every JRPG after that was modeled after that game.
Yeah, 100%. And it's mad because 7 hit such a high, and then 8 came out, and I personally was disappointed with 8. I know a lot of people, 8 was their favorite, but going from 7 to 8, especially because the graphics were better, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the best thing ever. And then it just didn't live up to 7. And then 9 was them trying to kind of recreate what they did in 1 to 6, but merged that with the new graphics. But I jumped in a 7, so that wasn't for me. And then 10, I was like,
10, oh man.
And Tidus, and having like the graphics, and then just having like full talking cutscenes and stuff like that. I was just like, that Tidus and Cloud are up there in my favorite pro tags ever.
Really, I mean, I love Titus, but the odd thing about Final Fantasy X, Sir Auron was my favorite.
Do you know what? Auron is a bad man. And the other day, someone was saying to me, because I was like, oh, what game would you love to have remade in the Final Fantasy VII style? Because one of my favorite JRPGs is, I don't know if you've heard of it, is Skies of Arcadia.
I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Skies of Arcadia, bad boy game, and I'd love that. And then someone was like, oh, they wanted 10. And I'm like, but 10 still holds up. And they were like, yeah, but Midas, imagine seeing Sir Auron looking like
right
Cloud.
now.
I was like, I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm sold.
Count me in. I spent $100 on that one.
Yeah, that's all you had to say to me. That's all you had to say to me. All right, Geek Life Mike, let's take it back a little bit. So we've been obviously talking on social back and forth, and I've been checking out a lot of the kind of tech and stuff that you do. But if this is someone's first kind of introduction into your world, who you are, what you do, what would you kind of give them as the elevator pitch of who Geek Life Mike is?
I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would call it a pitch as much as I would say it's really just me being me. I really, if I had to talk about myself, I'm just a person who's just loved games and has been doing it for so long. And I just decided that I wanted to be involved in this space because there were so few of us in this space as Black people. And I wanted to represent that. And I wanted to talk about it. And I wanted to kind of give, a whole culture of youngins kind of an insight into what it was like for me, because I'm a kid from the 90s. It was tough to be a gamer back then. It was really tough. So to see kind of where anime and gaming is as it relates to Black people and Black culture, and to be able to now share my experience with that, that's why I got into it, just to be able to share all of that.
Yeah, that's
bring,
so dope.
I'm sorry about that, not to cut you up, just to kind of bring my history into it. So that's what I would say. So I'm just here for the history.
I love that. That's super dope. It's really interesting you saying that, because the other day I was coming from like a big shopping center, or what you little call a mall, and I walked out and I saw like a bunch of kids outside, just hoodlums, just standing on road, making noise, blazing music. But you know what blew my mind, Mike? Blew my mind? They had big speakers. They were all chilling, making hella noise, and they were playing anime music. I was like, this is mad. Like, I had to call my brethren. I'm like, fam, this is a new life. Because when we were young, like when I've been watching anime for years, I didn't even know it was called anime. I just knew manga. Yeah. That's all I knew. It's like we used to just be like, we're watching manga, and man would be out with my dons, and I would talk to them about watching things like Ninja Scroll. But do you think I could ever be on the road playing songs from these? Fam, even my own brethren would try it with me. I'm like it's a whole different experience, and it's super dope that these kids now they've grown up on what we're doing, and how we're kind of changing the game for them, and how normalized it is. So like that's super dope. All right.
Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
Go on. Go on.
That that's what kind of drew me to kind of follow you in the first place, because I just kind of saw where you were going and the historical context that you were using, and you were talking about so many things that I could relate to. So that's what I think was dope about you. I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate that, my G. Do you know what? What's really dope is one of the things that's super important for me is like I'm a video game TV presenter, but I talk hella slang. I talk with my hands. I talk hella street. Like I've got great communication skills, but I'm just from the hood, innit? And I'm just gonna talk how we are. But I love this video game thing. Like I can out talk some of the nerdiest youths on road in this thing. Like I know the history of this and I live it. But this is just who I am. I don't have to be somebody else to love this, which is super incredible. And that's why I love people like you, Hip Hop Gamer, like people.
That's my guy. Shout out to hip hop.
Yeah, people just being really themselves in this space. So, Geek Like Mike, we've had an incredible few years of gaming. Like, obviously, the pandemic was a whirlwind for us. But I would say in the past 4 to 5 years, we've had some really pinnacle games that we've been able to sink our teeth into. What are one of the games that have come out recently that has really kind of that struck a chord with you and got you super excited for gaming?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. Because there's so many.
I'm gonna let you give me two. Give me two games, and they don't have to be your favorite. Just two games that come straight to your mind of the last few years that have really struck a chord with you.
I mean, I would God of War, I would say, is one of them, but that's not really a pandemic game. That was before the pandemic. Are you speaking relative to the pandemic or any
Yeah,
time in the last couple of years?
let's say the last 5 years. So I would
Last
take
five
God of
years?
War. Last 5 years.
All right, so God of War is definitely one. And I would say probably Octopath Traveler is the other one. I played that game so many times. That would be my two. God of War and Octopath Traveler have been my favorite. I'm still playing Octopath Traveler for the Switch right now.
Fam, that is so sick. I'll tell you what's mad. So, like, I've never seen myself as like Mr. Super graphics and stuff, but I do like good graphics. And I've really found it hard to go back to the 2D pixel art style. Like, it just doesn't click with me the same way it used to. So I'd rather a game like a RPG look like a kind of Persona, got using that proper anime style, or go more high end like a Final Fantasy. But what Square's done with that HD 2D art style is so sick.
Crazy.
Like, I proper love it. I think they've just done something. It's just worked so well. Tell me what it is about Octopath that's really captured you.
What you said, the art style, and it just has so much replay value because you can take your characters and you can really kind of formulate the story any way you want depending on which part of the world you go to and which characters you put in your party. You can literally have multiple endings with different characters, and I think that's what drew me to it. And then the combat system was unlike anything I had really experienced. It was a turn-based game with kind of like a tactics combat system, and I think that's what I loved about it so much, and it's why I continue to play it to this day. That I think that's what it is for me. That's what it is. So Octopath is just one of them ones.
I'll tell you what I've really got into recently is Live Alive or Live
I
Alive.
haven't played that yet.
However you say it. So that is sick. Obviously, it's got that same art style.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is in that you are having completely different scenarios. So 1 minute you're playing in the Western as a cowboy, next minute you're a samurai, next minute you're out in space. So that's one that I proper recommend that you should go into and the intricacies. So God of War, I find God of War such an interesting game because the original God of Wars for me were okay. Like, nothing about them super grabbed me. Like, I think it was cool hack and slash. Like, I like defeating the big gods and demons and stuff like that, but they were never games that like meant something to me. Not like the Uncharted series. I proper love those games, and I never felt that same love with God of War. And when Cory Barlog revealed the reboot, like, it did everything that I want. Like, it kind of gave me that really dark, like the Last of Us kind of storytelling. I liked the new visual style of it, the combat. What is it about this game that just took over your life?
I'm kind of like you with God of War. I always thought it was just a cool game and it was fun. It was a hack and slash, and one of my favorites is the PSP God of War. I think that's Ghost of Sparta. Nobody talks about that one, but that was quietly a very dope God of War. But what did it for me? Just a quick story. I went to E3 2016, and we went to the Sony show, myself and Red Infamy and Hip Hop Gamer. Shout out to those two again. And they put on like this big grandiose show, for the reveal of God of War. And when I tell you, when we saw Kratos looking completely different with that beard and that axe, I was like, I have to play this. And then when I finally did, it sucked me in, and I haven't been able to get that game out of me. It was so well done. It was so well written. And then with the addition of Atreus, and then I watched all these videos with the behind the scenes. And then here in New York, we went to the Tribeca Film Festival. I actually met Cory Barlog. And then when I actually listened to him, and I was standing 2 feet away from him, and I'm listening to him talk about this game and how passionate he was, I think it was so much that went into loving that game aside from just the game itself, if that answers the question.
Super good answer. Cory is such a humble guy, proper humble guy, and like really enjoying talking to him, like super nice. All right, Geek Life Mike, I was stating at the beginning, you are the king of tech. I gave you a big I gave you a big thing, but you are really into tech. What tech right now is exciting you around games? Like I recently just did some content with the Samsung Galaxy S8 Ultra Tab. Huge. So what tech is really exciting you when it comes to game? And it can be the new consoles, whatever.
The consoles aren't really that exciting because we're 2 years into that generation. The thing that I was excited about the most was the addition to the Game Pass app on the new Samsung TVs. I think that right there was probably the biggest kind of revolutionary thing that I've seen, because now we're getting into a place where you don't necessarily have to have a console, even though you have to buy a $3,000 TV, but you don't necessarily have to buy a console. And I think it's the first step in kind of seeing gaming become a lot more affordable. And I think that's the thing that's kind of captivated me the most, because I've seen it all. I've played every gaming laptop, I've played every gaming phone, I've played on any kind of handheld device. They're all kind of the same thing, all dope, but it's all kind of the same. That was the biggest thing for me that I saw this year. Shout out to Xbox for that.
Yeah, that's so sick. It's funny because Xbox has put in hell of work to create this Netflix style model gaming, and it's super dope. You can game on your phone, you can game on your Xbox, you can game on your PC, but it's still a very kind of console basis. And for years and years and years, TVs have always put little games and stuff on there, and Amazon tried their thing with Luna, and nothing's really connected. And if Xbox can really get to this point where the Samsung TVs can get to an affordable place and you can actually have that real gaming library on your TV without needing a console, that is literally gonna be a game changer. And like, gamers like the consoles, gamers like their PCs, but so many people only think about gamers as us collectors and stuff like that. And there are people who have 9-to-5 jobs and have families, and they don't have time to go and buy the latest console, or oh my gosh, this console is currently out of stock, I'll get it another time. But for them to be able to say they're at home, they don't want to watch Netflix, they just straight on their TV, they play the new Halo, like, game changer.
Absolutely. And I think that was the thing that really struck a chord with me as kind of the biggest thing so far, because once again, like I said, I've seen it all. So that was the big one for me.
I gotta say though, I do love the DualSense. Like, I feel like that's the best thing about the PS5. I really do love. Yeah, I really love that controller, and I say it a lot, but it reminds me of a grown-up thing Nintendo would do, because Nintendo are like the best when it comes to revolutionizing tech.
Remember the NES Max? Remember that controller?
I don't even know what that is.
The NES Max? Oh, you got to look that up, my guy.
As soon as we come off, I'm going to look at
the that's NES the greatest Max, controller. I think that's the greatest. That controller, believe it or not, actually kind of set off the analog controllers that we see now.
Well, the first proper analog was the N64 in it, and then that was our first Rumble as well, with the Rumble pack.
Well, the NES Max didn't have a Rumble pack, but it actually had kind of an analog pad on it. You got to look that up, man.
I'm gonna check it out. Nintendo always revolutionizing GeekLifeMike, like we are running out of time. Like I could have spoken to you all day, but I need to make sure the people can come and connect with you. So if you wanted to send, if this is the first time someone's come across you, they're feeling your vibe, where would you send the people to find you?
I'm GeekLifeMike across all socials and across all consoles. My PSN is GeekLifeMike. My Xbox gamer tag is GeekLifeMike. They can find me on Twitter at GeekLifeMike. They can find me on Instagram at GeekLifeMike. Anywhere, TikTok, GeekLifeMike. That's where I'm at. You can also catch me on Twitch, on Afropunk, with Red Infamy, with Hip Hop Gamer, and my man Photos by Beans. We do a show called The Culture Code every Wednesday at 7 p.m., which I hope you, Mr. Midas, is going to be on, and then we can really chop it up. And that's where everybody can find me. So thank you for having me, my guy.
Thank you, man. I'm definitely down to come on, and I have to get Red on the podcast. Like we've been talking about doing it for time. No, it's fine. I've been talking to her about making it happen, but we've just schedules have been mad. Red, I'm gonna hit you up. We are going to make this happen. GeekLifeMike,
Yes,
thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Remember, if you're listening to it us on Spotify, any of them, come over to the YouTube, give us a thumbs up. We've got a Discord channel now. Make sure you can come and join. We've got a big competition to give away just for people within the Discord. I've been Mr. Midas. He's been GeekLifeMike. You've been the MVPs, and we out of here.
Yes, sir.
Peace.